Hi, I'm Greg Schaffer, and welcome to the Virtual CISO Moment. Today, Alan Clinard joins us today. He is the founder and principal of Athena vCISO Services. Alan brings more than 2 decades of experience in information security, operational risk management, governance, and compliance across financial services, critical infrastructure, and government sectors. Over the course of his career, he has led enterprise information security risk programs for a variety of organizations. He's also a former U.S. Army officer and holds certifications including CISSP, CRISC, which I think is pronounced C-RISC, but I'm not sure, CISA, and the Certified vCISO, which I'm sure we'll talk about in just a few moments. Alan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Really happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here as well, too. Apologies if my voice is a little bit hoarse. I just got done with a recording of the previous episode right before this as well, but that's okay. It's like I wasn't yelling in the previous episode, so I don't think I'm going to yell at you or anything. But I want to start off the way that I always do. I know some of your story, but would like to hear how and why you got started in this wonderful field. Just take us through your career and to where you are today.
Sure. When folks ask me this, I honestly, I really kind of bumbled into it. My post-Army career, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. So I ended up taking a role in Washington, D.C., and it was operational risk management consulting. So we had both a services and a software platform that we used to help people measure and manage operational risk. And that started mostly with physical security, and it dovetailed really into information security over time. And one of the things that I took from my Army career that has really helped me along, my first assignment was as a tank platoon leader. So I was in a tank battalion, had 4 tanks that I was leading and their tank crews, and it really helped me understand the basics of maneuver warfare. And I then transitioned to the intelligence world, and having that experience as that leader at a maneuver unit really helped me do my job as a intel officer better, because I had that perspective. And I really was able to take that mindset and frame of reference and then apply it in my civilian career. So when I supported a client, I really wanted to understand what they were trying to accomplish, what outcomes they were looking for, and understand a little bit of the inside baseball of their organizations, like how things get done, and then go about saying, okay, based on all of this, here's what I think is the best way to support and develop your information security risk management program. So I started out federal customers, the Air Force, Department of Homeland Security, the Navy. And after several years there, I met my now wife in the DC area. We decided that the DC area probably wasn't a great place to raise kids and have a family. So she was originally from Minnesota. We moved out here, and I started work at US Bank. And again, supporting those front revenue generating business lines from an information security perspective. It really helped me to have that mindset and perspective of what do I need to know about the business and how they do things to be able to support them better. So understanding, okay, what are the business outcomes? And from an information security perspective, how do I make them better at what they do? And what that really was is taking a lot of the information security related tasks that a manager was responsible for in a revenue generating business line, and start to document those and basically take it off their plate. And so having things that are produce consistent, repeatable results, so checklists and so on and so forth, so that they don't have to have the expertise and experience that I do. They can just rely on the instructions and the procedures that I've put together, which help them, A, be secure, and B, it helps them demonstrate compliance in a very highly regulated universe. So I took that experience supporting revenue generating business lines, moved into the information security function itself, had a number of both technical and governance related positions there. And again, same mindset, but instead of a individual revenue generating business unit, it was the entire bank. So really kind of understanding, for instance, on the insider threat team, really understanding like what were my responsibilities and how do I engage and leverage the HR function and the managers to create a path of, hey, here's the thing we found that this particular employee did that we're concerned about. I'm not going to explain it in technical language. I'm going to tell you, hey, like, this is what they did. Here's why it's bad. And we're going to leave it up to you to deal with that employee in whatever shape, form, or fashion. So again, like having this understanding of how the business operates to be able to better support them. My next role, I worked in the critical infrastructure world, and again, very highly regulated. I was part of a company that helped manage the electrical grid, and there, again, much the same, kind of same story, understanding what it was we were doing, what it was we were responsible for from a regulatory perspective, and then saying, okay, how do we do both good security and do it in such a way where we can then evidence the fact that we're compliant with the regulations. And so that was my last role before founding Athena vCISO services. So it kind of brings us up to date.
Well, I love the fact that, well, first of all, you made it a little bit easy for me, because I often ask folks that were prior military, it's like, well, what did you bring from the military that has helped you in your career? And you answered that. And you do something that I think is a big gap in those offering virtual CISO services, and just those who are security folks in general. And that is the importance of understanding the business of if you understand the business, you can help the clients better, to use your words, I believe. But there's a lot of folks out there that seem to miss on that, and I often struggle as to why they just start wanting to jump into aligning folks with frameworks and controls, and they're going more on a check the box thing, and they think they're doing the right thing, but they don't really dig into understanding the company. Well, what's one thing that you think could help them to better understand that the importance of doing it the way that you're doing it, as opposed to the starting with the framework and checking the boxes and all that?
I think that there are a couple things. So I'm a big Stephen Covey fan, and whenever I get the opportunity, I throw out begin with the end in mind. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the end? And for a small or medium-sized business, the end is being profitable,
Right.
and delivering a good service. And I think that dovetails into the other thing, which is a little bit of humility. And someone very early on in my career at the bank made the point of saying, hey, like, we're not here to do security. We are here to make a profit and return money back to our shareholders and do good things for our customers. And so having that understanding of that, everything that anybody in the organization does, to include information security, services that objective. And it's not about your expertise. It is about your ability to work as a member of the team to achieve that goal. And so having that kind of that mindset and that humility walking in, I think, is really important. And those are not technical skills.
No, not at all. And I think that that's one of the things that makes it difficult for folks that are trying to move up, is that the humility angle is so powerful. When people really finally realize, it's like, the goal of the company is not to be secure.
Yeah.
The goal of the company is to make money. That's it. That's it. There is no other goal. How do you not make money? You have a bad security program is one way to not make money, to have really bad losses. So that's how it dovetails in. But there's so many people in our field that automatically think that it's like, no, that has to be the number one priority. And that's why they can't talk risk to like the C-suite and the board of directors, because they're already starting off on a I'm more important than you are type of footing.
Yeah.
So
and you really do have to speak their language, and to be able to have a seat at that table. It, like, the protect revenue piece that you alluded to there is important, but also, like, how do I help you expand into a new market or offer a new product in a safe and secure manner? So now you're not only being that firefighter, if you will, but you are also being that proactive business leader to say, hey, like, here's a really smart way that we can get into this new market or offer this new product to a new set of customers.
So you do often, let's dive down that just a little bit further. You do often talk about the cyber translation, to use your words, translating technical risk into business language. And we've just talked about the importance of that. But why do we struggle with that as security professionals? What is it in our brains or in our background? Is it because we focus too much just on our own world, or we diminish the importance of it, or we don't understand the importance of it, or maybe a combination of all that, or maybe something else?
So I think all of that. And we really like the ones and zeros. That's what we're passionate about. And, like, I don't know that we do a good job as an industry, the information security, CISO, virtual CISO industry, of teaching basic business concepts. And that's one of the things that I had to learn about running my own business is, what is a balance sheet telling me? What is my P&L telling me? What is my cash flow report telling me, and why is it important? So those are things that I had to pick up on my own, and we just don't teach as a part of being maturing out of that very technical role into this idea of being a business leader, and understanding it's a whole different lexicon. It's a whole new alphabet, if you will. It's, instead of threats, vulnerabilities, controls, firewalls, switches, etc., it's profit, loss, revenue, expense,
marketing, sales, and and it's I totally agree. I mean, it's being a small business owner yourself gives you a different positive perspective on, particularly like in the virtual CISO field, almost by definition, the clients that we'll work with will fall into the small mid-sized business category, because if they're any larger, they're going to have somebody on full time. That's why I say almost by definition. But making that jump into being an entrepreneur, I mean, that's a difficult jump. And I think some folks have the misconception that, oh, it's just very easy. I'm suddenly decided it's like, I want to hang my virtual shingle, and the clients will be screaming, knocking down my virtual door. That's what I thought, honestly, when I first started. I'm like, I'm just going to put it out there. I'll do like maybe one Google ad, and I'm going to have clients out the wazoo. And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a scary thing to do, because I mean, you're now responsible for the entire business. It's like you're responsible for the things you talked about, not only the back office stuff and the finance stuff, but you are responsible for the marketing, for the sales, for the billing, for the invoicing, and all that stuff. And it's a crazy world to get into. So why did you jump into it?
I think the biggest thing for me is I just wasn't a good fit for the corporate world. You know, we talk about trying to during an interview help people see you as a fit in their organization, and like there is precious little about helping you understand, is the organization a fit for me? And through, you know, many years of like following the normal track where everybody does a 9-to-5 type of role, I learned that that kind of environment is not a good fit for me. So that is the first thing. The second thing is I really wanted to have the flexibility to be able to pick my daughters up after school at 3:00 and spend the rest of the afternoon with them.
Oh yeah, there's a huge lifestyle component with it, no doubt.
Yep. And I think the third thing is the challenge of adding value on every day, every interaction, every engagement that I have with my clients, and then being able to kind of move the ball forward for them, big picture. So like kind of stepping outside of the everyday, oh, we've got an exam coming up, or we need to do this policy review, but helping them chart a course in a bigger picture kind of way. So helping them understand, okay, how do we break down a business goal that this organization has, and how do we communicate how the information security function helps the business reach that goal. And along the way, as part of that challenge, it is one of the things that I love to do, professionally speaking, is teach and mentor. Mm-hmm. And I always tell my clients, like, I'm going to work myself out of a job. I'm going to train you in such a way where in, you know, whatever period of time, maybe it's 6 months, if I do a really great job, maybe it's 2 years. But you are no longer going to need my services because you can do this for yourself. We've built that institutional knowledge and that security culture in this organization where, you know, you're going to say, all right, we're good. Like, we'd love to keep in touch with you, but we can do this ourselves now. So that has been a real unexpected piece of satisfaction that I've gotten out of that challenge piece.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing to do. It's such an honest approach, because there are so many organizations. I don't like to normally badmouth organizations, but I will say in generality, there are some folks that provide virtual CISO services and other services that are more self-serving than others, or also less experienced. But from the self-serving standpoint, particularly those that are more pressured to look at the bottom line, to look at the margins, to look at the recurring revenue. They don't want to do that. They're like, no, you've got to do everything you can to make sure that the client is sticky. And
Yeah.
and yet what you just said is completely opposite of that, but yet provides a better service. And I'm always of the opinion that if you have a heart of a servant, you're always going to be successful. Something or another is going to be fine with it. It's okay to lose a client in that manner because you've done something good. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah. And this, you know, when I was a manager, there was always this fear, agita around losing a good employee, or losing an employee because they decided to go somewhere else. And like, I just disagree with that perspective, because like good for them. Like, they've got a great new opportunity to go and grow. And I don't know why we wouldn't be happy about that. And I have to replace that person. So I have somebody else that I can bring in that I can now mentor and teach and help grow. And the best part of all of that is that person B is not the same as person A.
Right.
And so, like, I now have to understand where that person is at. I have to meet them where they are. And I have to ever so slightly, or maybe completely, rearrange how I manage that individual. And I think the same thing applies with losing a client. It's like, okay, you know, now I have the space to bring somebody else on who's in a different position, and, you know, maybe they have a exam coming up, or an audit coming up, or they've got an MRA that they need to deal with. And that's great for me, because now I have a whole new set of problems to help them solve, and I have a whole new cast of characters to help train and mentor and, you know, do all the things that I love to do.
So that reminds me of a conversation I had on last week's episode, and in full transparency, I can say it's last week's episode from the airing, from the dropping perspective, but from my perspective of recording, it was about an hour ago. So it's fresh in my mind. But we were talking about, I know you work with financial institutions a lot. So, and it was when you said exams and audits that triggered this memory in me, this very long-term memory. We were talking about, the challenge of, and actually, believe it or not, I didn't bring this up, the guest did, so I did, about the challenge about like some institutions where they well, to boil it down, they are fine with where their security program is at because the auditors are fine with it, or the examiners are fine with it. And yet us sitting in the position as virtual CISOs for those types of organizations, it doesn't just have to be financial services, but financial services is so heavily regulated, you don't really have examiners in any other field for the most part. It becomes a little bit of a frustration where we're like, the client, you can do better with your security program, and we have a way to get you there, but you only seem interested at staying at this level, which is not a bad thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have to be compliant with FFIC guidelines and this and that, but that should be the minimum. That should be, you should try to strive above that. And yet sometimes getting clients to understand that above the auditors liking it or the examiners being okay with it is a good thing. How do you approach that? Well, I guess there's two questions there. How do you approach it with the client? And then how do you approach it, I would imagine, because I know I feel this way, the frustration. It's like you almost feel like you already talked about having a heart of a mentor, an educator, try to work yourself out of a job. How do you get there?
So I think that, kind of going back to this idea of having a little bit of humility, that every client is, you know, they're going to be different, and I look for the small wins and help think long term and kind of strategically about how do I pile up those small wins with this client so that they are markedly different today, or in 6 months, than they are today. So I think that, you know, there was, when I lived in DC, I actually learned how to play polo. And
Polo,
polo,
awesome.
yeah. It was a ton of fun. And like, if everybody thinks about polo, you think about people galloping down the field and they take the big swings to hit the ball. And what I learned is that polo is really all about the short game. And like, I have that perspective in my head of, okay, like, let's just assume small wins, and how do we stack those up strategically so we've radically changed how this organization does asset management, or radically changed how this organization does business continuity. I think the second thing is identifying someone who can carry water for you. And so having an idea and planting that idea in that person's head, where it's their win. It's not my win. It's their win. They look good in front of their bosses. And
oh yeah, and we want to help promote that too. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think that is, being a consultant, I think, is like, you're naturally on the periphery of the organization. So having someone who is a part of the organization and a part of the culture, moving and shifting them and nudging them, I think ultimately helps deal with some of that frustration. And it, like, honestly, it's more satisfying to me, because like, it's like this plan that I have in my head, and I'm executing on this plan, like, little bit by bit by bit. And when I see and I'm able to measure how things have changed over the course of time, like, that is very personally satisfying to me.
You mentioned being a consultant, which I think that there's a misconception in the security field that it's just very easy. Kind of talked a little bit about it from the business perspective, but also just from from how you work with clients' perspective. It's not easy to jump from being an employed minion at an organization doing your job and then making this shift as a consultant, because there are certain other things that are involved with that. And it's actually a good segue into what I wanted to talk about, the CISO program, because that's where you and I first met, which is kind of a stupid way to say it. It's like we first met. It's like, no, we met there. It's like, it wasn't like, well, hey, I'm meeting you again for the first time, or something like that. But anyway, I digress. My voice is going because I'm talking stupid right now. One of the things that I came away from doing the vCISO program, I've talked about it on the podcast before, that I found very positive is that prior to that, I was more of the opinion that if you're going to be a virtual CISO, you had to have had the experience of being a CISO or the highest level information security executive, period, full-time somewhere, because you had to have learned that risk management experience. The vCISO actually does a very good job, in my opinion, of doing two things beyond the security knowledge. It does a good job of really talking about a risk management, and it also does a good job of teaching on at least a basic level about how to be a consultant. And so I have openly said, after being skeptical about it at first before going through it, that no, I think it's a very positive thing for our industry. Now, having said that, I'm curious about, now that it's been a couple of years since you and I both, I think we did it in 23 or 24, something like that.
24.
Was it 24? Okay. Time seems to go by so fast sometimes. Well, I mean, what was your takeaway from it? Did you find positivity from it, or?
Absolutely. I think one of the big things that course helped me with is extinguish a lot of the fear had around like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I before I took that class, like nobody's gonna pay me to do this. Yeah, like I've got all of this experience, but like nobody's gonna listen to me. I don't have any authority, whatever. But going through the class, it was honestly like I knew everything. Like there were some bits and pieces that I didn't have, and I was grateful for the perspective that Evan and his team shared. But I'm like, oh, like I've been doing this for such a long time,
Yep.
and these other people have made a career out of doing this,
Yep.
and that really helped me put to rest many of the fears I had about going and doing this on my own.
Well, and yeah, I can relate with a lot of that as well because, and sort of touching on some of the stuff from the beginning, but also just generally in our field, this can be a very stressful life. I mean, just security in general, risk management aspect of it, the governance aspect, the trying to build programs from clients that are on various stages. It can be a good challenge, but it can also be frustrating, it can be stressful. And then you layer on top of it the entrepreneurial spirit of it, that can double the stress. And I'm so much an evangelist of on this podcast of emphasizing to folks that you need to decompress. You need to let in a positive manner. I have learned that the hard way over my career, and so I think it's important to remind people of it. And part of how I remind people of it is this is the fun part of the podcast of asking people what's one of the things that you do to decompress.
So my big thing right now is learning how to cook and make things from scratch. So I'm making butter, bread, like just very basic things. I'm trying a new recipe at least once a week. And so for me, that it's like, it's very zen because it takes your mind completely off of everything else that's going on. And like, you have to focus right then and there. And so that helps me just put everything else down. And it's a really great opportunity to laugh at myself too for like really screwing it up. But then understanding, like thinking through, okay, what did I do wrong there? I made some really awful chocolate chip cookies because I mixed up, no pun intended, the ratio of baking powder and baking soda.
Oh, I've done that before, and that's not a good thing.
So that, and I'm looking forward to picking up cabinetry building. I have a couple of rental properties that I manage. They're older homes. They have been beat to heck, and there are some like built-ins that I want to repair, and there are things that I want to add in terms of cabinetry. So I am going to YouTube University and learning how to build cabinets.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, now that's part of your future plans, but definitely want to touch on other future plans you might have, like for the Athena vCISO services. I know you do focus on financial institutions, but you're not limited to financial institutions, right?
No, not limited to financial institutions. And the great thing about working with non-regulated companies is you kind of get to set aside some of the administrivia associated with the regulatory piece, and we really get to focus on the business. So I have one client, and they are anxiously champing at the bit to adopt AI. And what I am doing there is identifying, hey, like, let's understand what we are implementing AI for and what outcomes do we want from the use of that AI, and then how do we then consolidate that into something that we can apply our change management to, that we can apply our asset management to, our access management, all of our normal information security functions, applying to this newfangled thing called AI. And so that, I think, is where I am most anxious to take Athena, is to help organizations do that good governance around AI in the implementation of AI. It holds great promise.
Yeah.
But, and I should say, it needs to be, I think, managed better. I liken this to what businesses went through when the internet first started to appear and businesses first started to use it. I think AI is going to be as much a fundamental transformation as that was. And we didn't manage it 100% right, because the evidence of that is, all of these security related things, and all of the downsides of the internet. And I want to hope that we have learned from that, and we can channel our energy and our enthusiasm for AI in a much more deliberate, constructive way. And so that is, I think, the biggest thing that I'm looking forward for Athena, is being able to have a hand in that. So
if folks want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do it?
My website, Athena vCISOservices.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me personally, or you can go to Athena vCISO Services page on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Always tell my guests before starting, it's just like, oh, we kind of say 15 to 25 minutes. I don't like to go above 30. And as I look at the clock, we're hitting close to 40 right now, but that's okay. I'm going to have to actually change my my write-up for it, because I never like to stifle good conversations. This was an excellent conversation.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom about folks out there. And again, anybody looking for virtual CISO services, check Alan out. He gets it. He's one of the folks out there that understands and has the experience to back it up, and the why for, I think, really aligned with the right way to do things. So again, thank you for joining us, Alan.
Yeah. Take it easy, Greg. Thank you.
And everybody, stay secure.